Huh. Looks like one hole for 2 shots. Yes, Hickok 45 here with the Dueler Prismatic. I have to remember the name. Dueler Prismatic. It's the double 1911 that you all have been requesting we get a hold of for I don't know how long. Okay? And how many times? Well, we finally got a hold of one, thanks to Buds. Buds sent us, I requested it. They have several of these things, I think. I guess a lot of people are buying them. But anyway, it is the Dueler Prismatic, requested from Buds, and we appreciate everything they do for us, obviously, because I don't know when we'd have gotten one. Probably wouldn't have followed through and gotten one as a T&E. So we appreciate their help, and we're shooting federal ammo. We appreciate that a great deal. This is the famous double 1911, and I have only fired, well, I pulled the trigger twice, but I've shot it 4 times. Really, I'm not sure what to say. So let's dual wield some more. How's that? So you're probably expecting 2 holes further apart. Well, let me shoot the target here and show you kind of where they go, although it's not 100% consistent. So I'll put 2 on the target, okay? I don't really have a choice. See that? And I'll put a couple closer to the bullseye. All right. I'm going to shoot that plate hanging there. I'll shoot it again. Okay. That's a new gun. It's it needs breaking in. There we go. So that gives you an idea at this distance, which is I don't know, what is that, about 6 yards or so, 6-7 yards maybe, and that's kind of the spread you get. And then notice it's not exactly snake eyes every time. You get sometimes the rounds even vertical, I've noticed. Okay, so that's one thing I wanted to show you. This is one of the questions I've always had about this. Well, exactly where the rounds hit. If I shoot at 60 yards, am I going to have snake eyes, perfect snake eyes, at least wherever they hit? Or what's going to happen? Are they going to spread out and one's going to wander off a great distance to the left or right? Or, it shouldn't happen, right? So I've been doing a little bit of experimentation in that regard anyway, because I wanted to know. And we'll talk about that, okay? In fact, you can see some down. The only hits that are down there are with this firearm and a couple of those plates. There's 3 hanging below, and even that big old thing. But you can see on one of them, you got 2, one right beneath the other. And you got a couple that are vertical, and one is what, about 3-4 inches below the other one. You know, on the other plate, maybe you don't see it. They're like right together. Okay, so they're not going to be far apart. It looks like. And that's at about 20 yards. But there is some variation of where they're going to hit, but they're not going to be too far apart. All right. So interesting firearm. Let's shoot a couple more times. It's a new one, and we're breaking it in, and we're even going to probably take it apart for you. Now, rather than reload that, the combo mag, it'll also take regular mags, as long as your base pad is not too wide. Now, some are, but these will fit, or if you don't have a base pad. All right. So, you can't just pull the slide back. You got to release it even when you do that. And like I said, sometimes it's requiring a little bit of a little push there, a little bit of help. All right, so we're firing 2 230 grain bullets every time we pull the trigger. You think it'll smoke a pot? I'll bet it will. Oh man, it will smoke a pot. That's a fair amount of lead. Quick, Kentuckians, how much lead? How much weight? 230 plus 230? 460. I beat you, I'm sorry. There's a 2-liter right there behind the filing cabinet. Needs some lead. Yeah, another pot. Cut it right in half. Let's see if we can hit the cowboy. See what it looks like on him. 4 hits on him. Let's put a couple more on him. Those 2 were a little closer. Wow, I've got more ammo. I don't know if I can hit a 2-liter up there or not. Let's try it. It's just to the left. All right. So, needless to say, an interesting firearm. So I'm sure we're getting a variety of reactions right now. Like some people, what a piece of junk. Who would want something like that? Well, I don't know. It's an interesting piece of hardware made in Italy. The makers, let's talk in their defense, okay? Got these nice grips. The motivation for this, as I understand, was that the owners of the company, the makers, they were really doing this to celebrate the centennial for the 1911. Okay, and so you can't hate that, right? I remember back in 2011, we were doing a celebration video of the 1911. We didn't make a double 1911. We just did a video or two about it, but that was their motivation. And of course, people like interesting firearms, and boy, this is one. I picked it up, I guess at SHOT Show or NRA meeting, and thought, wow, okay, who's buying that? Well, people are buying it apparently. For me, it's kind of a coffee table piece in a lot of ways, and the fact that it actually shoots is just a bonus, I guess. It's a little bit, I guess it just now occurred to me. John will think I'm crazy, but it's like that in a way, that wooden carving we had of the 1911. If you've seen that, if not, try to find it. It's a very interesting firearm, and it was just the kind of thing you'd like to own. If it weren't so expensive. That thing was expensive, and you still like to own it. But and the guy who makes those sells a lot of them, I guess. But it's kind of a coffee table thing, as much as anything, just having a novel firearm. But this thing works. It actually shoots, and I've had it apart several times. I'm going to take it apart for you because, only because I think you probably want to see the insides of it, right? And what the heck is doubled and how they do this. What's it look like on the inside? Well, first of all, you can see the difference between a real 1911 and this one. Now, this again is the prismatic version of the Dueler, the newest one, A1, I guess, and it's got the porting and the muzzle brakes and extended barrel, 6.5-inch barrel. So the earlier ones they made were more like this firearm. They were kind of standard doubled, just a standard 1911 doubled times 2. And whereas this one's a little souped up, and you got your serration. It's pretty, it seems to be well made. I'll say that, okay, because I've had it apart several times, and you be the judge. All right. So we're just shooting standard ammo. I've tried hollow points. They seem to work okay too. I don't know if it needs, especially in the break-in period when it's new, if it needs hotter ammo than just standard, like American Eagle, which tends to work in about everything, or not. So let's see. Let's make sure it's empty. And then you're supposed to half cock it. You're supposed to pull the trigger, I believe, in the directions. Yeah, and then bring that through there. Okay. And then, so we're definitely clear. And then you come up here, and they provide this little tool for you to take. You could do it without it probably. But I actually read the manual because I thought, well, okay, I don't know how this works. Now, they'll probably send them to the skies here if I'm not careful. I've taken apart a lot of 1911s, but it really is kind of different. There's just this one little spot there where it releases. And it's really easy to send it to the moon. Come on now, I'm loose. This is the only part that, well, I say that, it's a little different because you have to get it just right, get it apart. Come on. There we go. Okay. And you're supposed to take those, and those I try to keep. I think that bushing has to be on the, it has to be on the left side. Yeah, there you go. Because as you can see how they're cut out there at the top. For you 1911 people that really understand, know 1911s really well, so you got that cut out there. So they're only going to go in one way. So I didn't really study, but yeah, I was smart enough to figure they're probably different. There we go. Just barely smart enough. Okay. And so I was keeping those. And then, you're supposed to take the spring out while you've got that. Okay. And then you do the other one. They make tools like this for removing bushings on 1911s. I just rarely ever use them. Usually, once you've taken a 1911 apart a few times, it's not a problem. Get the spring out. All right. So right away, you see you have separate springs. That was one of the questions I had, is like everything welded together? Do you have, oh, what are some firearms, like a Desert Eagle? There's another one I can't think of what it is, where your springs are part of a, you've got two springs, but they're part of a unit, you know, they're connected, but it's not. And then from here on, it's kind of like taking any 1911 apart. Bring it back to the little notch there, and you push out the, which I notice there's not a knob there to push on. Good thing I brought my little Glock tool out here. I have some of my tools in case when I take this apart I might need. And that comes out. Just a little bit longer, isn't it? The slide lock. Oh yeah, and I brought this out for a reason, so that we wouldn't mess up our leather, okay, or hide. You may not know it, but these pieces of leather and hide like this are real expensive. And take care of them as long as we can. Okay, so I've got that slide lock out, so then I just run the slide on that. All right, and there you go with that part. Looks like a 1911, except it looks more like two 1911s, doesn't it? Okay, pretty interesting. And again, I thought I'd probably want to see this, even if I have to fumble a little bit and take a little time. Oh man, what, it fits like a glove. If you think a brick fits like a glove. No, it's not quite as bad as a brick, but you know. All right, now let's take the barrels out. The guide rods. Now the guide rods are connected. Okay, so you got double guide rods, and they got the cushions on there. And I don't know, you got to watch those things, and sometimes those can affect reliability. You know, back when I was competing a lot, there were guys that swore you should not put those on there. For one thing, to chew up and bind up your firearm, especially a defensive firearm, and they could actually change the like the distance things are traveling, and can affect the reliability. So I'm not going to take them out. I'll just leave them in there. But that's right. Okay, then the barrels, your links down, and they come right out. It's like a 1911, even a double 1911. And there you got separate barrels. And again, those were some of my questions. You know, is it all one piece in there? How the heck did they do this? And most of these pieces, as I've read, are interchangeable with, like that firearm there, with a regular 1911. Sorry, Ed Brown, I didn't mean to imply your 1911's a regular 1911, but you know what I'm saying. And so they're just regular barrels, except, you know, ported and with a muzzle brake on it, the standard link and everything. And there you see, you know, it's again like a 1911 except doubled. You know, and you got of course your extractor on the other side, you know, over there. You got to have some of those allowances if you're going to double it up like that. And you might be able to tell more than I have if you're a machinist and you're a student of that kind of work. But it looks like it's really made well to me. It's made in Italy. It just seems, in fact, it seems very precise and very tight tolerances. So I'm not surprised. The slide, you got to give it a little bit of a boost occasionally. We've not had any kind of hang-ups like you know, on the feed ramp or any kind of weird things like that at all. It's just maybe getting that slide forward, that last half an inch or something. You have to give it a wrap occasionally. Okay, so that's it. I don't know what else in there to show you. The rear sight's adjustable. In fact, I raised it to get it to hit you know, point of aim for me, at least with this most of the ammo I've been shooting. Maybe you can look down through there. That's kind of interesting too. Yeah, it's just amazing what people put together these days. Again, you know, every firearm, I try to defend it. Oops, now the barrels, I don't have to worry about keeping them straight. Why? Because the ports need to match up with that slot, right? So this is the left barrel, depending how you're looking at it. But every firearm does not have to have a functional purpose. I know that's what Cooper always asks, what's it for? That's kind of what I ask. And if I'm looking at a firearm, what am I going to do? I don't really look at what's it for, you know, and because I think Cooper and people lots of times who ask that, if it's not got a definite purpose for hunting or definite purpose for that, or for self-defense, and it's practical for that, it makes sense for that, or competition or something, then it's needless. It's useless. It needs to have a purpose and everything. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I think a lot of firearms are just kind of interesting and fun, you know, in defense of things like this. And it's a big part of the hobby when you get right down to it. It really is. So I'm going to put the springs on first, which you don't have to do. Things go on better that way, I think. Yeah. You know, so yeah, it's like, again, we've talked about this before, so have you. It's like a fast car or anything that is not absolutely necessary. You know, what is it for? Do you really need it? And so you can argue about that kind of thing all day long. Make sure it's lubed well here, especially where it's new and tight. So I don't know that I would buy one, but I've seen on the web people buy them and talking about them and just proud as punch, you know, about them and everything. I saw an unboxing video on one. Guy was just, I mean, he was just elated, you know, with that thing, and taking it out of the box, and so I was kind of curious who has them and what's going on. And there's not a great deal on the web about them, but they haven't been out that long. But you know, interesting firearm, and there's people buying them, and I don't think I have read much about people who are shooting them a great deal and of any problems they're having or anything like that. I think most people are probably not shooting them a great deal, put it that way. Okay, get all that. Now here's where I struggle sometimes. Let me get the links right. So while I'm doing this, remind you all, check the description for anything that's coming up, because I keep it updated actually. If there's anything new going on that I want you to know about, check our Facebook especially, because we keep information updated there almost daily on the Hickok 45 Facebook and on the Hickok 45 and Son Facebook. And then John's doing a lot over there on the Hickok 45 and Son. In fact, I was over there the other day with him on a gun culture radio show, and so forget to remind you all about that stuff. And I know your life is not complete if you're not aware of everything we're doing. Okay, there we go. See, sometimes I'm a little bit, I appear to be fumble-fingered, partly because we're on camera and there's at least 30 people watching, and so you're trying to go faster or do things, but I guess in my defense, and also just in general, most of you know when you're taking down a firearm and everything, you don't want to get in a big hurry, and you want to enjoy, really, how's this thing work, and learning about how it works, and how it goes back together. And it's just sometimes, it's not the only excuse, it's not necessarily an excuse I have for having trouble sometimes. I mean, you just do sometimes. So I'm not blaming it on all that. I'm just saying, generally, if you're not in a hurry and you don't have people watching, just take your time and enjoy learning about the firearm and how to take it apart, how to put it back together, and don't worry if you fumble it up and have to start over and all that sort of thing. All right, so now we're ready to put the barrel bushings back on, and this one, little cutouts there in the middle, so not a problem seeing where that goes. I think the only thing I didn't do was, no, I've got the safety on back there. Hold it in place. So one thing that makes it take a little more time is you got double the work, right? In some ways, okay. But it's not a big problem. If you've never disassembled a 1911, maybe this isn't the one you want to start on. But actually, it's not that big a deal. Not famous last words. Famous last words. Use my little tool here to make sure it doesn't go flying into the moon. Like I say, that's kind of a new part there, and yeah, I think that's what it needs. It wants to pop out just enough to not want to turn over there. It's got to be pushed down. There we go. Don't even need the tool, really. All right, so I don't know if that was worth it to you, but I figured you might want to see the inside. Another thing that's connected is the hammer. You probably noticed that. It's, the spur there connects that, so you can't fire one side, and of course that's a question that always comes up, doesn't it? Come think of it. can you fire the left barrel independently and that kind of, no, you can't. And I almost forgot to even address that. I've been shooting it so much, and that was one of the questions I had. Yeah, the triggers, like when it's cocked, both barrels are cocked, and then either trigger drops the hammer. Okay, so it's slightly ambidextrous, right? So I'm gonna pull just the left trigger. There you go. So the triggers, the hammer, it's all one piece. Okay, so that's an interesting piece, no doubt about it. All right, we got some more ammo here. Okay. Now I know the other question you have. Well, let's see. Any other thing about it here that's specific? Oh, I forgot what those grips are called. Those are some of the new grips. Not G. I want to say G code, G grips, whatever they are. You know what I'm talking about. I'll put it in the description if I have to. But nice grips. You got the beaver tail. You got serrations, the kinds of stuff you like on a 1911, even a double 1911. Pretty nice trigger. You know, it's almost like a competition trigger. And the safety and everything is made, well. It's as ergonomic as it can be, I think. But now it is really wide. If you've ever picked one up or put it in your hand, I don't care who you are, it's going to feel huge. I don't know of any other handgun that feels like this big or feels this blocky in my life. And I've shot some blocky handguns, but this one takes the cake. All right. But I think, again, most people are not buying it because, oh, that feels good. That's the gun I want. It's an extremely novel. It's a novelty gun. They run between around $4,500, $4,700 up to, this one is over $7,000. Okay, this I guess is the most expensive firearm we might have fired here, even considering some of the antique firearms and things that we may have or have borrowed. So this is the most expensive. Can't believe Buds is letting us mess with it, but so anyway, it's a very interesting firearm. Okay, let's shoot the thing. Okay. Yeah, really, I think most people probably won't shoot this very much. I'm going to pull the slide back. You can do it either way, but and one thing, let's see, I'm going to show you this too. Since I know most of you will be going out to buy one of these and you'll want to know. Once the slide is locked back with empty magazines, I don't know if you noticed before, but unlike most 1911s, or all, if I pull the slide back, and to slingshot it will, well, even after the mag's out, it won't do it, which is kind of unusual. So you have to remember to release the slide lock. Okay, so anyway, if you see me doing that, that's because you have to on this particular 1911. All right, double barrel, double your pleasure, double your fun. Why don't we? I know the other thing you want to see. Can I hit the gong with it? I don't know. Let's try it. Okay. All right. Okay. And I won't be able to tell from this distance, but maybe you will, just by you and John maybe can tell what kind of spread we're getting. I would like to get a couple of hits on there that are definitely like new hits, and you can see how much spread there is, in the rounds. But we may not get that. We might just get me hitting it and one misses or whatever. All right, and I won't know until I see the video. Oops, I forgot. I just told you what I had to do and I didn't do it. Okay, I'll try for the gong. I will be able to hear it, so I'll know, hopefully, if I'm holding too low or too high. All right. I think that was too low, probably. It's all to the left. I heard that. Yeah, I'm holding higher. I was off a little there, I think. All right, try again. Probably low. I've got that rear side up pretty high. I'm going to shoot the gong a couple more times. Well, when I say a couple, I'm not sure what that means. Does that mean a couple or does that mean 4? All right. All right. I'm going to get a good solid hit on it again. Okay, you guys just have to be the judge, whatever you saw. Let's kill some 2 liters with this thing. Now remember, we're throwing out, what, 460 grains of lead into 1 2-liter. That's why it's blowing up that way. Okay, oh, there's that one I missed, didn't I? Let's try him again. Went left again. Well, I'm having a hard time seeing the sight. Let me take that out for one thing, so I'll blame it on that partly. Now, when you clear a malfunction, or that one again, it was not quite in the chambered, you have to really double check. How's that? Double check? I think double check is the correct term when you're messing with this thing. So, there we go. Now, another thing that you may not have a problem with when you buy yours, I know most of you will be buying one of these, the beaver tail safety, I have a problem activating it with my large hand. Okay, so I think with a smaller hand it's not going to be quite as much of a problem, but I really have to focus on that. And I discovered, I don't think I'll put them on. I discovered with gloves it's not as much of a problem because I've got a little more padding there. But for me, I really, and part of my accuracy issues with it are I'm having to hold it differently and squeeze it really hard, more so than I really want to. All right, and I'm not just making that as an excuse. It is an issue. All right, so again, most people aren't going to be worrying too much about whether they can like win an IPSC match with this thing or anything like that. It's just a very interesting firearm to have in the collection, right? Now, see, those base pads don't match up in terms of one of them's a little bigger than the other, but they're not wider, so they work. Okay. All right. So, another thing I would do if it were mine is paint the front sight because it's hard to keep up with. All right, 2 liters. Use Smart Alex. Well, there we go. What do you think? You think it'll roll a bowling pin? I'll bet it will. Oh, he jumped off there. Popped right off, right off. I'm going to shoot that, well, let's not waste that one. Let's shoot this one again in the upper left-hand corner there where there's no hits. Just again to show you. Snake eyes. So as a defensive firearm, I mean, there's no doubt about it, you know, the 45 has a pretty good reputation, and as a stopper, well, 2 45s, you know, double tap is definitely going to be a stopper. So I'm not going to make fun of it as a defensive firearm too much. It's just, I don't know if I'd want to carry it. Let's a little more ammo here, because I want to shoot the cowboy again, maybe, and we'll, yeah, shoot a little more. Let's see, let's load this double mag. Now these are kind of, I don't know who makes these magazines, but yeah, I guess most magazines you could get into this piece here, so excuse me. So I don't think that really matters. There's no gigantic advantage to having this double magazine pack like this, that's what I'm saying. So you're going to go out and shoot the thing, even what you're keeping in it. Now it looks nicer, it's got that base plate and everything. So Who wants one of these? You know, people that just are fascinated by 1911, I guess, and can afford it, and just can't live without one, because it actually fires. It's not just a coffee table piece. Now, I wouldn't advise you leaving a real firearm on your coffee table, depending on your living arrangement, whether kids are by your house or anything like that, or irresponsible people, that sort of thing. But I still kind of refer to it as a coffee table piece. That's what I think of it as. Novelty piece. You know, you and your friends, if you're into firearms, and I'll bet you are, many of you, and you're always proud to show your most recent acquisition. You know, there's some folks that just couldn't resist when their buddies ever going to the safe and say, "Oh, look what I picked up." Yeah, I got a new 1911 also, and here it is. So I got a trailer for it and everything to haul it around. Oh, I was going to weigh it. I'm sorry, I didn't weigh it, but it weighs a lot. Let me just put it that way. Okay. All right. Let's shoot a couple more times. Again, if you were late getting to the video and you missed the first part, I talked a little bit about what the rounds do, where they hit, and it's not random, but it's not 100% consistent either. Now, if you're pretty close, you know, it seems to be a little more consistent. Those ones I put on that cookie sheet or whatever, 3 of those pairs pretty much the same, aren't they? But then that one pair is not. So that's, you know, kind of what you get. And sometimes they're actually vertical, totally vertical. I'll shoot that other pan anyway. It's we're a little bit further away from it. Okay, I'm gonna back up a little more. All right, let's see how they pattern. Pretty tight. Okay, a little further apart. There you go, a vertical string. So, of course, any of those 3 would be pretty good if you were trying to stop a bear, a bad guy, right? The red plate. Let's get this other cowboy, hadn't been scathed. There you go. Even a couple in a bad spot. Vertical. I'll put a couple more on this target. See if I get him closer to the bullseye. Oh, pulled down on it. All right, so 2 big rounds. I've got 1 more magazine, and a lot of punch, no doubt about it. A lot of punch in one hand. I think, well, I started to say, I think it's loosening up some. Okay. You know what? This pumpkin needs a little more abuse. Went through the same holes. I'll try this coffin right there. Yeah. That gives you a good idea of where they're hitting. Yeah, man. 230 grain bullets pumping out there right side by side is pretty interesting. I cannot take it seriously, though, as a defensive weapon. I saw a video. Somebody was saying that people were carrying these in, I guess, Africa when they're around dangerous game, that kind of thing. Quite honestly, this is not my first choice for that. You know, I mean, it's an interesting firearm. It's a 1911. You know, it's great that Arsenal is kind of commemorating, you know, John Browning's 1911 and everything. That's cool. And they're making a very interesting firearm, more the better. But I don't see it as a really practical firearm to carry for defense or hunting or anything, because it's so big and heavy, right? But it is an interesting firearm, and it works, and it seems to be well made. It really does. It's the machining and everything on it appears to be high quality. So if you ever get a chance to take a look at one, take a look at it. It's very unique. If unique is what you seek, this might be for you. Life is good. Well, since I'm still here, let me go ahead and thank SDI, the Sonoran Desert Institute, for their support of the channel. If you're not familiar with them, they do distance learning. They're fully accredited. You can get a certification in gunsmithing there. You can even get an associate degree in firearms technology, and you can go on to do a lot of different things with that, if you're interested. So, there's hands-on training and everything. So check the link in the description, sdi.edu, and, check it out. I do a lot of work with veterans, so it might be of some interest to you. So check that out. And also, keep in mind, while I'm still here, that we are on Full 30 now. All our videos are over on full30.com, and there's a link in the video descriptions to that as well. So, watch us wherever you like to. YouTube, Full 30, better yet, both. And keep in mind that we have the Hickok 45 and Son channel. John does a lot of things over there. I do some things over there, some Hickok history, different things. We've got the Hickok 45 Facebook page. We do a lot on that. There's 400,000 people following that. I hope you're one of them. The Hickok 45 and Son Facebook page. So we've got a lot going on there. Got the Gun Culture Radio show that John does. Now, I'm on that show sometimes over on Hickok 45 and Son. So just wanted to make you aware of everything that's going on in case you might not be familiar with it. Okay? And you'd better start getting familiar with it, because if you don't, I'm going to come to your house and have a chat with you. You don't want that to happen. And if I do, you'd better have good donuts and good coffee waiting for me. Okay?